Hey there, everybody. This is the Nice Goblin Podcast. I'm your host, NiceGoblin94, joined as always by the lovely Mystic.
Hi.
And we're going to look at some good news, answer a question from the books of questions, and just try to get away from it all for a little bit. So grab your pork rinds and/or sandwich, and let's go straight into the uplifting news recap of September. Um, Now we're kind of changing this up from how we did it in our first episode. We're just going to be looking at some good news stories from the month of September. And moving forward, that's kind of how we're going to do this segment is looking at the previous month and touching on some stories that just give us the warm fuzzies. So this first story is also a little relevant to the current political climate here in the United States. Um, you know, it is an election year for the president, and uh, so everybody's really kind of gearing up. And one thing that a lot of people are kind of concerned about is having time to actually be able to go and vote in person if that is how they are going to choose to vote. But employees of Old Navy, Target, Warby Parker, and Compass Coffee are going to be paid for time off to vote and work at the polls. So if you are employed at one of those places, they just took that excuse away from you. You are still like they are still going to pay you to go vote and do your civic duty. So hop
Which is
on
actually
that.
really amazing because my story that I found that I think is really great is directly related to this. So, last voting year was 2016, and around this point in 2016, there were reported to only be about 9,525 votes that were returned. This year in 2020, we already have at least 866,734 people as of September 26th. So that's huge. We're not going to tell you who to vote for. We're not going to try to sway your vote in any way. Our main purpose here at the Nice Goblin podcast is just to say, do your civic duty. If you want to make a difference, go vote. We highly encourage it, and that's about as political as we'll get.
Yeah, like Mystic said, we're not trying to tell you who to vote for. We are not political pundits. We're not paid for by any sort of politician. Having said that, I'm open to a bidding war. No, not really. That is a joke. For legal purposes, that is a joke.
Yes, for legal purposes.
Um, but no, we're not going to try to tell you who to vote for. We are just going to encourage all of our American listeners to vote however you want to vote, whoever you want to vote for. Go vote. If you're voting by mail, especially get on that because uh, time is ticking for that. A lot of places have different rules for voting by mail. You can find all that information out online. So we'll post some links to some resources for that in the description below.
Absolutely. And then also, time is not just ticking, but things get lost in the mail.
Yes.
So get it in as soon as possible. There's going to be a lot of people voting by mail this year. I don't blame them at all. But things do get lost in the mail, even important things. So make sure you get that in as soon as possible so that if you notice, I'm pretty sure they have websites where you can check and make sure that your vote has come in and all that. If you notice it's not in, you need to contact somebody as soon as possible and get that rectified.
Yeah, let your voice be heard. And speaking of letting your voice be heard and all that, Mystic, I believe that. Or wait, no, I'm sorry. Uh, it is. I was trying to segue to you for some reason, but I actually had that
I don't know
segue.
why.
Yeah, no.
Squirrel.
Yep. One of those days for both of us. Uh, but Dave Grohl being a awesome individual, the guy behind the Foo Fighters, he accepted a 10-year-old drummer's virtual drum off challenge. Uh, I love Dave Grohl. He's such a real, I guess, person. Like, I've never heard of a musician, especially, that just exuded good nature and good humor the way that Dave Grohl does. And I find it hilarious that his band's name is the Foo Fighters.
Yeah, yeah, he's really good people. I don't think I've heard a single negative story about him. And the fact that I know we're in lockdown, but he's probably still a pretty busy man right now with everything. And he still found the time to, accept this drum off with this, young person.
Yeah.
Because I did not fully read the story, I won't lie. Um, Also, I believe there's an update to that not only did he accept the drum off, but he wrote a story for the young person. Or not a story, but a song. A song, yes.
I mean
Like
that.
there's a lot to that. It's a
Yeah,
really great story.
that does sound like something he would do. I'm not gonna lie.
And speaking of music, though, in Fair Verona, where we lay our scene, and yes, that is the city where Romeo and Juliet took place. There apparently is a modern day Romeo and Juliet without the tragic ending in
Oh,
Verona during this lockdown. Um, I'm sure a lot of us heard about, they were doing nightly around 6 p.m. musical performances to uplift each other during the quarantine. A young woman's sister was performing a violin rendition of We Are the Champions and caught the eye of a young man. He says he was immediately struck by the beauty of this girl, by her smile, and he had to know her. She says it was a magical moment, and she immediately thought, what a beautiful boy. And they began talking on Instagram. Um, he saw that she had a profile, but he did not, and so he created one. They began talking on Instagram, and now we fast forward 6 months later. They are actually happily engaged to be married.
yeah, that is really awesome. Also, I know that you said without the sad ending, it also sounds like their families weren't actively at war with each other, which is always a bonus. That makes
As
the
far as we know.
yes, uh, that does make holidays a little awkward. You know, the whole open warfare with your in-laws.
Indeed.
Can you?
But yeah, for a good 10 weeks, they talked to each other on Instagram and had telephone calls and daily cross balcony flirtation, and found that they had a lot of similar values and ideals, and they couldn't get close to each other for a long, long time. And then in early May, they finally met at a local park, removed their masks, shared a kiss, and by July, they had met each other's families and were engaged.
Man, that just goes to show you like there's something or someone out there for everyone, even during a pandemic. And now I'm just sitting here staring at my computer screen, still laughing and single.
Oh, but we know that there's a couple of people that have watched this that at least enjoy your voice.
Yeah, there is that. Uh, See, and now we gotta get heavy for just a moment. Uh, so, in Lenexa, Kansas, I am sorry to all the people from that town if I said that name wrong. Um, a couple are brewing beer for suicide prevention. Um, this story really stood out to me. My family has been racked with a couple of very impactful suicides. Um, so this story was something I really wanted to touch on. A limited edition beer called Your Story Is Not Complete will have the Johnson County 24-hour crisis hotline number on the back of the can. The beer is available until supplies run out, with 100% of the proceeds going to suicide prevention. So that
Yeah,
is
that's really amazing.
is one of those things that I just I wish that uh, the subject of mental health and of getting help was a little bit more accepted. And so, on that note, we will have the national hotline number in the description. September, if I'm not mistaken, is actually Suicide Awareness Month. Um,
Um, Let me double check that real quick.
I think I remember hearing that somewhere.
Let's see. Yep, September was Suicide Awareness Month. So,
But having said that, there's absolutely no reason to not be aware of it 100% of the time. Going forward, we are going to be having that in the description of all of our videos because we're trying to spread positivity. I want there to be a world where suicide is a thing of the past. So,
well, and especially right now with the pandemic going on, a lot of
yeah,
people are feeling more alone than ever. So I'm very happy about the people in Lenexa doing this and really going out of their way with 100% of the proceeds going to such an important thing right now when people are feeling the loneliest and the most, I guess, separated, the most distant from people than ever before.
yeah. So now that we have had,
Dark, let's get a little lighter.
yeah, we got a
um
little heavy. Let's lighten things up.
but it is still in the realm of, proceeds and, progress and something very, very sad. So I'm sure we all remember the Ice Bucket Challenge. This went, oh, what year was this? Ice Bucket Challenge
That would have been
was
2014, 2015, somewhere in there.
somewhere in there. It was a while ago.
Yeah,
I'm looking real quick to see if I can skim for a date. I don't see an actual date. But the point is, we all saw the ice bucket challenge. Some people, participated in it, and it was all to raise money for a cure for ALS, otherwise known as, and I'm probably going to butcher this, but I'm going to try, amyotrophic lateral sclerosis. And as we know, that causes the inexorable disabilities that controls and destroys the nerve cells for moving, speaking, eating, and breathing. From what I have researched on it, it is a very, very horrific way to die, and it's very, very scary. And a lot of people were negative about the ice bucket challenge, saying that it wasn't doing anything, that, it was just for clout, as they say these days. But it did end up raising more than $200 million worldwide. And apparently, a new treatment that is helping to slow the progression of ALS is actually showing significant slowing in phase 2 of their trials. So, great job to everybody,
yeah,
celebrity and normal, that participated in that ice bucket challenge. It apparently really, really did help.
yeah. So to kind of touch on how the ice bucket challenge worked and how it's supposed to work, um, you would dump the ice bucket or the ice water on you, and it was supposed to give you that brief moment of shock to your system where you just could not move. Now picture that, but 24/7. That
Exactly.
is how this disease affects people. And a lot of the detractors felt like there wasn't enough being done, but the way that you were actually supposed to do the challenge as it was presented to me was you either just donated the money or you did the challenge and donated a slightly smaller sum because you did take the plunge, so to speak. Um, I was
But a lot of
nominated.
people just,
Yeah,
yeah, a lot of people just did it and didn't donate or didn't nominate other people.
yeah. I was nominated. I just did the donation. I didn't have the space or access to somewhere that I could just dump a bucket of ice water on myself
Right.
um, without having to clean up the mess. And I'm a lazy kid sometimes. So, yeah, I donated.
Which, I mean, donations of any amount obviously got us to where we are. Because speaking of that, this is phase 2 in a 3-step process required by the FDA for drug approval. If a phase 2 study generates positive results, the FDA typically requires a larger and longer phase 3 trial, but it's really looking amazingly positive so far for those who have received the drug. They recruited 137 ALS patients who had become symptomatic within the previous 18 months. Two-thirds of them, so 89 of them, received the drug, while the remaining third were given a placebo. And as it looks right now, those who had received the drug, they are evaluating on a scale of 0 to 48, measuring disabilities caused by it. And those who received the drug have dropped from the full 48 to about a baseline score of 36. That is a drop of 12 points. That is huge.
That is significant.
And just for those that are curious about scientific things, those that are on the placebo have only lost an average of 2.32 points. And that range is enough that they could just be, having a new assistance device, or they're just having a better day. So a difference of 2 points and 12 points is huge. And that means that we know that the actual drug itself is working.
Yeah, that
And
is
speaking of
awesome.
things that are helping and treatments, I can segue into my next one, which has to do with a still pretty horrible thing, but I still think ALS is a little worse in this case. But blindness, a cure for blindness, which this is also huge. A Hungarian researcher won the Korber Prize for European Science 2020 in Hamburg, Germany, and earned a 1.18 million USD check. And he is working on a procedure that will reactivate the retinas of the blind and cure blindness. So that is huge. We keep saying that 2020 is a bad year, but towards the end of this year, we're getting some great news and some great progress.
Yeah, that is really significant. And uh, reactivating the retinas, that sounds like science fiction to me.
Right?
Like that does not sound like a treatment or something that just I can't think of a better word for it. That sounds like science fiction, but it's a thing that is happening. I'm all for it. It means that we are moving ever closer to a better world where the diseases and ailments of the past are just that, diseases and ailments of the past.
Well, speaking of science fiction, let me describe to you a little bit exactly what they're doing, and then you're really going to say science fiction. So, Boton Roska, who works in the Swiss city of Basel, has uncovered a gene based therapy that reprograms cells in the human eye so that they can perform the work of the light sensitive receptors needed for human vision. And for the time being, as of right now, the progress that has been made, the process creates a level of vision similar to watching television in black and white. That is very science fictiony.
I mean, hey, if it works, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth, but uh, I almost can't believe it. That's my segue because believe it or not, Michigan bee populations are on the rise according to new data, up 50% since 2018. Now, this is cool to me because I am wanting to get into making mead and that sort of thing. I've done it a little bit in the past, but never really got to do it as on the scale that I'm wanting to. Mystic is probably like yay from a distance because I know that you're.
Yes, I am deathly allergic to bees, but I also recognize that without bees, not only do we not have mead, but we don't have a lot of fruits and vegetables that we eat, but also our food eats. So we would have a shortage of meat, fruits, vegetables, grains. I mean, without bees, we're very lost.
Yeah, I know that it's very tempting, especially if you are allergic, to see a bee and immediately think kill mode engaged. But bees do serve a purpose. They help pollinate. They help make food for us and for the food that we eat. Um, and they make delicious, amazing honey. Uh,
which turns into delicious, amazing mead.
yes,
And they make flowers pretty too. Don't forget that. It's not
yes,
just actual usefulness, but they make the world prettier too.
yes. So save the bees. Uh, try not to immediately try to kill them just because you see one. Unless it's a hornet, they're just bees with attitude and they don't serve the same purpose. So yeah, hornets are fair game.
And wasps too. Wasps, I'm not a fan of.
Oh no, especially red wasps. Nah, not fam.
But speaking of bees, real quick, I do want to interject and point out that you said if you see a bee, try to be nice, don't panic. If you find that you have a colony or a hive of bees on your property and you, like me, are allergic or you just really don't want to deal with them, please don't go and just kill the whole hive. Don't smoke them out. Don't spray them. Call up a local professional. They are happy to rehome these bees into a proper hive and send them over to local people who harvest the honey and take care of these creatures. Don't just kill them. Call a professional. They will be happy to come out and rescue them. And I'm sure that these bees would be happy to return the favor with a nice jar of honey.
Yes. There are several chapters of local beekeepers throughout the world that have humane ways of removing bees that they can come in, they can take care of that for you. So, yeah, definitely reach out to a professional. Reach out, I'm sure that you can find local numbers online.
Oh, it's very
And
easy to Google. Very, very
yeah,
easy.
I used to know a professional beekeeper. He was really cool.
Yeah, my partner gets honey from a local beekeeper. So if we ever have a serious bee issue, we know we can call up that beekeeper and get them to come out and help us.
I might be hitting your partner up about letting me store a couple of gallons of mead in their place.
Well, especially if we get this house we're looking at, I would be more than happy to.
Stay tuned to that.
Exactly.
And speaking on wildlife populations on the rise, on beaches quieted by the pandemic, Lebanon sees sea turtle boom. I had to take that a little slow because I knew that was a tongue twister in the making.
They see sea turtles, yes.
Yes. But sea turtles, for those of you who don't know or just need a refresher on how they operate, they actually come onto the beach to lay their eggs in the sand. And it is like, I can't think of another animal who's got such a harrowing life so immediately after birth because it is the sea turtles come out of the eggs and they've got to make a mad dash for the ocean while seagulls and other predators are attacking, and there's just like there's no real protection. Like humans kind of try to do their part in protecting them, but whenever you've got beaches that are constantly being occupied by humans, the sea turtles don't always have a good place to lay their eggs.
Well, and sometimes humans don't mean to, but if you're playing, football on the beach or something, you may
Yes,
stumble into a nest and destroy the eggs without meaning to.
yes. So it's really hard for sea turtles. It's hard being green. Kermit the Frog said it best. It's hard being
That is
green.
true
It's not easy being green.
because, yeah, specifically, these are the endangered green sea turtles.
So always happy to see that nature is kind of doing well and on the mend because we've only got one Earth and we need to do something to make sure it's around for a little while. At least,
Exactly.
at least until we colonize Mars.
Which probably won't be much longer. Some progress on that.
If Elon Musk has his way, he'd probably be up there today if he could.
Probably. But, speaking on making the world a better place, not just for ourselves, but for our children. As we know right now, we're going to get a little sad with the pandemic. We're coming back around to it. It is a major thing happening in our lives right now. A lot of people have had to go to working online, working from home, and that includes children. And unfortunately, we like to think that we are in a very tech forward society, but there are a lot of children that are actually without Wi-Fi or access to internet right now in what is becoming a very Wi-Fi and internet reliant learning environment. And to help combat that, T-Mobile has started up a project called Project 10 Million. It is a program that aims to eventually get free Wi-Fi to 10 million students' households in the US. As of a couple of days ago, actually, this is a newer thing, but it was posted earlier today at about 8:30 a.m. It looks like T-Mobile has reached out to about 15,000 student households in 5 school districts and gifted them free internet connectivity as of this morning for the next 5 years. So that is huge. The students attend 5 public school districts located in Allegheny Valley, Pennsylvania, Jackson, Mississippi, Baltimore, Maryland, Santa Fe, New Mexico, and South Bend, Indiana. So pretty all over the place, and that's amazing because according to this article, of the 50 million children learning remotely right now, between 15 and 16 million of those are lacking adequate technology. That is that is a huge percentage that does not have access to technology. I mean, that's wow.
Yeah,
um ooh,
and with how, like you said, uh, tech reliant the classrooms are becoming nowadays with the pandemic, uh,
I
remote
mean, let's
learning.
be honest. Even without the pandemic, these children need to be learning technology because they're going to be growing up with such
Yeah,
extreme technological advances that we could only dream of.
absolutely. Like I remember my junior and senior year of high school, we thought it was just amazing that we had iPads in the classroom.
Oh, y'all had iPads? Dang.
Right. Uh, but now they're just being so integrated into children's lives that having that access in the home so that they aren't falling behind their peers is a huge thing. Big ups to T-Mobile for not
Absolutely.
being a scumbag company and for giving that to them for the next 5 years. That is, I may reconsider my stance on cell phone companies.
Right? Because a little bit further information about that is apparently in Jackson, Mississippi, the superintendent of Jackson Public Schools told Good Morning America, the one who ran this article, that 25% of their students are not connected through the internet. And in the indigenous communities in New Mexico, it is a higher 40% of students do not have internet access. Can you imagine 40%, like between 25 and 40% of these students growing up being behind their peers?
Yeah,
That is that shouldn't be a thing. Every student should be given equal attention and should have equal opportunity to at least get by school. School's hard enough, growing up, friends, peer pressure, and just, learning disabilities are a thing, and we don't need to make it harder on these kids.
yeah. There there's a significant gap in the amount of people that do and don't have access to something that is becoming so ubiquitous as technology, as the internet in America. So having T-Mobile step up to the plate and give that to them. And I know we've said T-Mobile a lot this segment. We're not being like none of these stories are being paid for by the companies or anything. This is literally just us commenting on these things.
Uplifting news.
Yeah, I want to make that clear. We're not shilling for T-Mobile right now, but T-Mobile, they deserve a shout out for doing this awesome thing to help close that gap in
Absolutely.
the in this situation. And so part of why this is happening is definitely the pandemic. We can't really deny that the pandemic has been a thing, but
And it's affecting lives.
one day this pandemic will be over, and whenever that is, for you, like whenever that does occur, you might just really need to get away from it all for a little bit. So, what I would recommend, if you're into museums like I am, and you're into traveling like I am, in Copenhagen, the world's first ever Museum of Happiness has opened up. Um, you can go there. Like I said, it is in Copenhagen, and I
Which Copenhagen? There's a few.
believe it is the one in Denmark because that's the only Copenhagen I know of. I didn't.
Did you know there's a Copenhagen, New York?
I did not because I was bad at geography as a kid. Um,
Yes, according to the article, it is Denmark. You're good.
yes, yeah, no, I literally only knew about Copenhagen, Denmark. But Denmark, perennially named among the happiest countries in the world, in July brought the low-key opening of the Happiness Museum in its capital, Copenhagen. A new installation curated by influential think tank, the Happiness Research Institute. The Institute's purpose is to oversee research into mental well-being and quality of life. The museum is intended as a microcosm of their findings.
Okay,
So,
that's awesome.
yeah, like just the fact that there's a place called the Museum of Happiness or the Happiness Museum.
Right?
I like
Also, I mean,
happiness.
how are they doing that though? Is it just like a bunch of charts that say, "Hey, this is what you should do to be happy," or what's I wonder what it's like.
Uh, so just looking at the pictures on the thing, it looks like it's got some interactive. It does have a. It's uh, the article does go on to say it's difficult to put happiness in a glass case, so the 8 rooms use interactive exhibits to explore happiness from different perspectives. These range from the thoughtful to the playful, from medieval tomes on contentment to using a mirror to find out which side of the Mona Lisa's face is actually smiling.
Okay, that's really, really cool.
So, yeah, it is definitely not just charts of how to be happy. Like that seems like it'd be very robotic.
Well, that's why I was curious. I mean, this is the first ever. I'm just kind of curious how they're
Right.
doing it.
Uh, there's the Politics of Happiness room, which digs into the sometimes spurious link between wealth and happiness, in part via
Oh,
a John F. Kennedy speech, while the Happiness Around the World room is coated with post-it notes bearing memories and musings written by visitors. So
oh,
you
I
could
love that.
you could literally go there and leave your mark uh, at the Happiness Museum.
That is precious.
So
Speaking of happiness, not much more brings a child joy, any child joy, than having your favorite doll or stuffed bear or what have you. But not many 5-year-olds would be willing to give up their favorite doll. However, 5-year-old Carver in what looks like Oregon realized what was going on with the wildfires going on there right now. He told his grandmother he wanted to do something to help. He heard about a local donation drive, and his grandmother took him shopping to get some things that they thought the firefighters needed. While at the store, Carver's eyes found something in the toy aisle that he knew they would need. The child doll. A lot of people call him Baby Yoda, but he is called the child. This sweet little 5-year-old boy recognized the child as, an internet sensation. People loved him, really fell in love with this sweet animated character. So he told his grandmother, and he wrote a thank you note as well. It reads, "Thank you, firefighters. Here is a friend for you in case you get lonely. Love, Carver." So the firefighters received the child, and not only did they absolutely love this gift, but they have been taking the child with them on their expeditions to put out the fires, and they created a Facebook group to document the child's travels.
Link in the description because that
Yes,
sounds
because that is
adorable.
some joy and happiness that needs to be in a museum.
Yes.
Like, I'm glancing through some of the photos in this article, and they have given the child a little helmet made of the American flag, and it is the most precious thing ever in the little backpack.
So, in case you missed the cue, Baby Yoda from The Mandalorian is the child. That is his actual name um, in the series. Uh,
I
I
believe
also
it's confirmed that he is not Yoda, but he is
no,
a member of the alien species that Yoda is.
yeah, no, he's not Yoda. The Mandalorian is set after the it's set after the prequel trilogy, but I'm sorry, obviously it's set after the prequel trilogy. It's set after the original trilogy, but before the sequel trilogy, which was Rise of Skywalker, Force Awakens, and all those. The most recent trilogy um, stars Pedro Pascal as the titular Mandalorian. Um, Baby Yoda is played by a bunch of zeros and ones uh, and a puppet in some cases.
Yep.
Um, there is I find this doubly amusing, not only because it's an adorable story, but also because there is actually a scene in The Mandalorian season one where the child like stops fire with the Force.
That
So
is just so precious.
yeah, so I am just my inner nerd is just picturing this Baby Yoda doll being carried into a fire by a firefighter and using the force. Let me have my dream, darn it.
So I looked real quick just to kind of see, the page about Baby Yoda fights fires. And remember, this was sent to those in Oregon. He's already made his way over to Colorado to spread the force and to help there as well.
Oh wow. Yeah, that is really adorable.
And I hope this makes it into that museum of happiness, because this has to be spreading some happiness to these hardworking firefighters, which I just want to say thank you to all the firefighters right now that are putting their lives on the line to save people from this horrible wildfire that is spreading. You guys are
Yes.
amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Uh, I've got a very dear friend who's up in the Portland area. Uh, I had to reach out and be like, "Yo, I know things are getting a little toasty up there. You staying safe, buddy?"
You're not turning into a s'more, are you?
Right. But she's doing good. She's actually very active on Instagram, so I got to see the progress pics of orange hued hellscape Portland, followed by a nice little rainstorm that they had that kind of helped
Oh,
push
I'm
back the
sure
smoke
those
and everything. And
firefighters were so happy to receive a rainstorm.
oh
Oof.
yeah, but it was what was amazing to me was just like oh, she took a couple of pictures over the course of a few days, and it was like day one. Like I said, you could see the fire and the smoke and everything. Day two, some like the fire had kind of dissipated, it had been fought back, but there was just still so much smoke in the air. And then that rainstorm hit, and day three, it was just clear. And if you didn't know any better, you'd almost swear that nothing had happened.
That's crazy.
But well, that is
But
all
anyways,
for the news recap.
Yes, but moving on to the book of questions, I know we talked a little bit about cures, and this actually is going to perfectly segue into the old book of questions. And it is, if a new medicine were developed that would cure arthritis, but cause a fatal reaction in 1% of those who took it, would you want it to be released to the public?
I would actually say yes. I am fortunate enough, knock on wood, to not suffer currently from arthritis. Um, Having said that, the question itself doesn't say that, it's being forced on anybody. So
Exactly.
if somebody feels that they're willing to take that gamble, I say let them take it.
So I have a similar belief, but I technically have a form of arthritis. I have carpal tunnel in both of my wrists because I work with my hands so much and I've been on a computer for so long. Carpal tunnel is kind of a form of arthritis, and some days the pain I experience, as long as they are upfront about the reactions and the numbers, I think, as with honestly any any procedure, as long as they are upfront with side effects and they acknowledge and they tell people, hey, 1% of those who take this have a fatal reaction, and all the information is given, I would be fine releasing it to the public. I mean, any medical procedure you look at, even something as innocent as a flu shot, it has side effects. And as long as your doctor's office or the provider is upfront with that, I think improving life for 99% of people, to me, 99% of willing people and 1% of willing people, it's worth it. It
Yeah,
really is.
yeah. Like I said, as long as everybody's up front, if the individual is willing to take that gamble, absolutely let them.
Because again,
Which,
it is their life.
yeah, which does kind of tie nicely into the new book of questions, which is: would you rather watch an Olympics that outlawed performance enhancing drugs, or one that embraced them and let athletes use medical pit crews to jack up their performances?
Ooh, okay. Can I have both? Can we just keep the
Right?
Olympics as we have them right now, where you're not supposed to be on performance enhancing drugs and you get in trouble if you are? And then on the off years, so I know that the Olympics are on even years, so I think on the odd years we should do the like you have to be on drugs to compete, and if you are found to have not been on drugs, you're disqualified.
Yeah, no, I'm actually down for this. This is something that a friend of mine who's real into combat sports has always wanted to see, and I'm kind of with him. If everybody was willing to, to do the injections and to have, if everybody agreed to those terms, I say let them uh, let them do the drugs, let them really see what the human body is capable of, even with artificial help. I do like your idea of actually keeping the traditional uh, non enhanced Olympics. We'll call that the vanilla Olympics, Olympics light. Um,
Exactly.
and then we can have the extreme Olympics or whatever uh, you would want to call that, the Blood Bowl Olympics, where you just you jack these guys up. And can you imagine, uh, like Eddie the Beast Hall doing like enhanced Olympic
Javelin
strength?
throws.
Oh man, that would be terrifying.
You'd have to make
Like,
sure that nobody was in the stands for that one though, just in case.
right?
Like no fans for the jacked up Olympics.
Yeah, no. The So here's what we do. We have, like you said, the traditional Olympics, and then we empty those things out, and then we let uh, roid the roided up Olympics happen, and the spicy Olympics. That's what we'll call
Yes.
it. We have the spicy Olympics the following year. That way, we're getting Like the host countries are still getting some usage out of those Olympic villages. Uh, and then we've got these guys that are just going ham on like shot put and handball and soccer, just going absolutely nuts, spiking that thing into just. I love it. I'm not a sports guy. I'd become a sports guy,
So I watch the highlights of the Olympics, but I don't watch the whole thing because it's I mean it's hours and hours and hours.
right?
But I love watching the highlights and I love watching like what the human body can do naturally. So yeah, if I could watch what the human body can do jacked up on who knows what, and especially because it also specifically states that it would be a medical pit crew. So, we would have it would be in a safe environment, I would say, as safe as possible, considering that it is, enhancing drugs. But as long as we have people there to monitor the, competitors and nobody gets like seriously hurt, because long term damage is going to happen with something like this. But as long as nobody gets seriously injured and they are willing, I think it would be awesome.
Yeah. Like I should probably point out both of my answers to these questions would be different if it weren't for the fact that at no point do the questions say uh, unwilling or anything like that. If you are willingly taking these drugs, these enhancements, these whatever, you do you. Like,
Absolutely, absolutely. Like consent always matters. I am big, big, big on the belief in that consent is key. And so that's why, as long as these questions keep saying, willing people, as long as it never says, oh, people are forced to, hey, it's your body. As long as you have signed all the requisite paperwork and you understand what is going on, because just consent doesn't matter.
yeah,
Informed, enthusiastic consent is what
yes,
matters. So as long as you have been given every bit of detail and you fully understand what's going on and you have signed all the contracts and you know what you're getting into and you're ready for it, then heck yes. Take that cocaine, yeet that javelin, let's do this. I'm excited, you're excited, let's get it going.
oh man, you said you eat the javelin.
Yeet the javelin.
That does remind me. I need to play Fall Guys soon because I'm pretty sure Big Eatus has been introduced by now.
I need to watch you play Fall Guys again. That was so fun that night.
If Big Eatus has not, I think it should be soon that he is being introduced,
That's
and
awesome.
I cannot wait. If you don't
Yeah.
understand, episode two.
Yes,
Um,
episode 2. Which, yeah, it was really fun getting to just like one-on-one watch you play on Discord. And speaking of Discord, we're going to shift over to promotion of social media. Join our Discord. It's really quiet
yeah,
in there right now. I check it all the time, waiting for new people to join in and talk to us. Please
yes,
join. We don't bite. Well, okay.
we don't
Nice Goblin doesn't bite.
that you know of.
I I bite with informed, enthusiastic consent given.
Exactly.
But no,
Uh,
join our Discord. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. I am actually finally really getting into my AVN. So if you're feeling a little saucy and want to see some 18 plus content from me, check out my AVN. I'd be also willing to maybe start up a Twitch and broadcast some games, broadcast me playing and maybe even making video games or my D&D sessions on the weekends. Just let me know.
yeah, and I am active on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch as well. Links for all of our stuff will be in the description.
And in the
Um,
Discord.
and in the Discord. Uh, we still need to fix the thing where Discord double pings every time I
I
go
will go do that
live.
right now.
But yeah, no, I've been actually streaming Red Faction Gorilla, the remastered edition.
I love that so much. Words cannot explain.
Um, I've been streaming that now for the every Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday for the last couple of weeks. At 10:30 between 10:30 and 11 p.m. Central Standard Time. You'll have to do your own conversions because I am not. Like I said, I was bad at geography as a kid.
So one cool thing that I learned is you can actually literally Google what time is it in blank time, like
Yeah,
what time is it in mountain time right now. Like I typed in what time is it in mountain time, and it immediately pulled up and told me what time it is there.
yeah. So if you're unsure of when I'm going live, uh, follow me on follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I do post right before I go live. So you'll have that little notification to go, oh, hey. I stream about an hour every night. I know last time I streamed, I actually did cut it off a little bit because I did want to catch some of the debate before it got too late. Um, like I had to catch it on recording anyway, but I didn't want to be up until 5 a.m. But if enough people are showing interest and enough people are showing up to the stream, I'll stream for longer. Like, let's see how short of a series the remastered edition ends up being. Because I've got over 100 games in my Steam library. That number is growing, and I may have uh, a secret link in the description towards the end of that series where you get to choose the next game. So be sure to.
We love the secret Easter eggs, which don't forget to pay attention to the description.
We are going to have to stop drawing attention to the fact that there is occasionally secret Easter eggs.
I don't know what you're talking about.
There is no secret description.
There is no secret description.
There is no secret description.
Not at all. Anyways,
Anyway, thank you for joining us this week.
I think we
And,
entranced each other there for a second.
right, thank you for joining us this week. We hope that you enjoyed it. And we will be back next Sunday with more positivity and more things that make us smile. So until then, this is NiceGoblin,
And Mystic.
and we hope you have a good night, good day, good life.
Yes,
I think we got a little Night Valley there at the end with the
a
whole.
little bit.
I enjoyed that. No, seriously, there is no secret description.